so the next person I'm going to introduce is Jason Dorfman. He just started a company called Off Topic, and Christian, I can lovingly call you a geek because you are an engineer, right? Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
All right. So I don't know if you're a geek or not, but I know that you come from more.
A geek.
You are okay.
Definitely a geek.
But you come from the business angle, so I
Yeah.
think this will be a nice balance to the engineering side. So welcome, Jason.
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Dorfman. My company's called Off Topic. We're really new. We've been working on it as a side project while we were at our job for a while. I actually just recently left my job just a few weeks ago, and just kind of back of what Christian said about sell first and build. We dumped about 20,000 lines of code because we were in stealth mode. Don't do that. So make sure you.
Did you say code?
Yeah.
Okay.
We.
It sounded like Coke over here.
Code, yeah. Yeah, 20,000 lines of code. So yeah, make sure you talk to people and make sure you're solving a problem that people actually have. It's harder than it seems at first. So I'll give you the quick pitch on what we do or what we're set out to do. So we're a network for creative professionals. So similar to something like a LinkedIn, and I'll get to that in just a moment. So what are creative professionals? Can be anything from an actor, a model, or someone like a graphic designer or a photographer. So this time around, we're actually trying to talk to all these people and make sure we're solving a legitimate problem for them. So here's actually our graphic designer, Nick Rolfe, and it's one of the people we talked to and tested and tried to find out what do you need. And one of the things we learned when we were talking to actors, models, graphic designers, creative people is that they're all going out and they're trying to make their own websites, for their business, and that's not their core competency there. If you're a fashion designer, you design fashion. If you're a photographer, you like to take pictures. So why pay the big bucks to make a website or have to do it yourself? So there's other there's other professional networks. What about LinkedIn? And I'll get to kind of the competitive analysis in just a second. But LinkedIn is actually they're oriented towards finance, high tech, medical, education, and the media and the arts are just a small sliver of that. And I think there's a few reasons for that. One reason is that they only allow you to have one thumbnail size image, and that doesn't make sense if you're an actor. It doesn't make sense if you're a photographer. Another thing we noticed that the age range was kind of a lot older than what most of the creative professionals that we knew kind of fell into. And the reason is that they picked venture capitalists as their early adopters, so the venture capitalists brought in the entrepreneurs. And while they've grown to 23 million active users, that's really just still a small section of the professional market, and we want to pick up basically the rest of that. So there's 23 million active users, and that's globally. There's 20 million creative professionals just in the United States alone, and that's not including the people where maybe they're a photographer on the side, maybe they're a graphic designer on the side. So we think it's a really big market, and we're still trying to test and figure out exactly what people want. We're thinking sort of like a social network where they can white label it and use their own domain. So rather than having a website and being isolated, you can still connect with other people. And to make money, we're thinking a marketplace model. If our users are content providers, why not let them license their pictures or graphic design or anything else? So the early days.
White label?
White label, like let people put their own domain name on it or let people put their own label on it. So we're still trying to figure out what people wanted. We began coding it, so we have our API so far, and we're building some stuff on mobile devices, things like that. We should back up for a second. Our team, it's myself, 2 engineers, mostly specializing in cloud and mobile, and we have a designer working part-time. So now kind of a background on me. That's me when I'm 14. I don't know why I'm wearing a tie. I guess that was punk rock or something at the time, but it's kind of one of my first entrepreneurial experiences was starting bands and stuff like that. I was in a few different bands growing up, and it's interesting. You learn a lot about teamwork and marketing yourself and starting something out of nothing. And that kind of brings me to my lesson number 1. It's all about the team, right? And sometimes you have popular kids in your band and everyone comes to the show but no one knows how to play the instrument. Sometimes you're all music nerds and then no one shows up but your music's good. So you really need to have all the components. You need the business people, you need the people that can build, you need the people that can design, because that's how competitive it is these days. So college. So that's actually a picture. I went to Santa Barbara City College myself and transferred to UCSB. And before I transferred, it was kind of a long story how we ended up doing this, but we started a fraternity, and that's actually where I met one of my co-founders. And the fraternity actually crashed and burned. So it was kind of my first experience with failure. We got up to about 50 people. We picked the wrong nationals, and they told us we secured a house, they'd buy it for us, and then they didn't buy it for us. So I think one of the things I learned is that you don't have to start a business to be an entrepreneur, right? Why not fail? I mean, we didn't spend anything to start this fraternity. We collected people's money, we used it to throw events, things like that. So, while you're in college, start clubs, start other things. You don't have to take big risks. And, no matter how many entrepreneurial books you might read, you're not going to learn everything. You're going to have to, fail a few times, at least in small ways. But it doesn't mean you have to quit your job or quit school to start a business and fail and then go broke. So definitely encourage you to start clubs. So it doesn't have to be a fraternity, obviously, but start anything and you'll learn a lot from it. It's better to fail cheap. And that also goes for just failing fast internally when you're developing a product. That's what we didn't do the first time around. Build something small, put it out there. If it fails, and you have time to iterate and put something else out. So don't, they said, go into stealth mode for 8 months, build something that you think is going to release, and then it turns out no one wants that. So my fourth year after the fraternity crumbled, discovered the technology management program, which Christian was mentioning. I was in the new venture competition. I loved it. It was amazing. I was actually a communication major when I was at SBCC, and then I picked up philosophy. So I did philosophy and TMP all in my fourth year, post-fraternity life. And after college, it took me a while to get a job, but I ended up at RightScale, which is a great company here locally. I believe Daniel Howard spoke here last week, so I worked with him for just over a year, and I couldn't ask for anything better. My last year of college, I started to teach myself how to program. That's sort of how I got into computers. And I don't really recommend doing it on your own. You can kind of end up going in a direction, learning all the wrong things first and stuff like that. But it was a great experience. And through that, through trying to teach myself in RightScale, I got a lot of technical skills. And a lot of people say, you were, philosophy and communication major. How did you get these good engineers to work with you? And, when you talk to anyone trying to have a web startup, they're like, how do you find, engineers to work with you? I'm trying to find an engineer. You always hear that. And I think the answer is stop being so not technical, because if you can't communicate with them, why do they want to work with you? So it doesn't mean you have to be the greatest computer scientist, in the world, but, learn the basics, learn a little bit. Code Academy is a really cool website where you can learn some of the basics of JavaScript. But it's really important to be able to communicate with technical people, at least if you're doing a technical product. That was my last lesson. Is I did quit my job, and everyone told me I was crazy. My parents said, wait till you make money, before you leave. Why would you leave a great company like RightScale after a year? I had got promoted while I was there, and you have to take risks. I wanted to add the crazy part, 'cause it's not just about taking risks. People are going to tell you your ideas are dumb, that you can't make it. Don't listen to them. You have to take the risk if you want to do anything great. And like I said before, you can start small. You can start being an entrepreneur, start small things on campus and learn from your failures then, before you kind of go into the big leagues. That's all I got. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Awesome. I think I learned something about my marriage from you. I mean, I do have to learn how to speak to my husband, even if I don't have to program with him or whatever. Okay.